So this is Steve, and I'm here with Evan Smith, who is running for the Indiana House District, the 84th District here in Northeast Indiana. Evan, we appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Talk a little bit about your campaign and what you would hope to do if elected, and kind of go from there. Why don't you, for those who maybe don't know you, why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourself?
Okay, I'm Evan Smith. I'm 27 years old. This is my first time running. I'm a Fort Wayne Community Schools teacher. Been a teacher for 5 years. Been in Fort Wayne my whole life. Went to Bishop Luers High School, Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne. I went to for college and got my secondary education degree. Right now, I got involved in politics mostly because of the situation we're in right now. The way with the economy, I was one of the many Hoosiers that lost my job as well. So that's what kind of pushed me towards running for politics. Mm-hmm. So I'm in here trying to help the average person out, try to help bring new jobs to Indiana, and I'm here to help hopefully with education as well, because I'm kind of a inside person there, and I know quite a bit of things going on. I feel like I can bring my knowledge to the situation if I get elected into Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm. And this is the first office you've sought?
This is my first office I sought, yes. So I'm learning a lot every single day.
Okay. I neglected to mention that you're running on the Democrat.
I am running on the Democrat ticket. That is correct.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about a few weeks ago you released a framework for jobs proposal.
Yes.
I guess we'll call it. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
The biggest thing, like I said, is my number one issue I'm running on is job creation. Right now we have several thousand Hoosiers that have lost their jobs recently. I've known several personally. I was one of the ones for a short amount of time before I got rehired back in to the teaching system here at Fort Wayne Community. And my framework for jobs is pretty much the biggest idea about it is trying to make sure we bring businesses here, especially businesses that need or have jobs that are pretty much connected to the college universities around here. I want to bring jobs in that need the degrees that are taught by our college universities, trying to keep our students here in Fort Wayne, because I don't want to go through all that brain drain that we already have, and a lot of our students are heading all across the United States. Even most of my friends have spread out. So I want to try to keep pretty much our engineers here, our doctors here, our dentists, our teachers, instead of having them go across the country to different places. So that's one of the big parts, is trying to bring businesses here that need jobs that are taught by our universities. Another part of it is trying to expand jobs that are already here in Fort Wayne. I'd like to keep adding on to the tax incentives we already offer. I want to try to boost those so that we can have businesses who add jobs to their payroll get additional tax benefits. So hopefully that will help the businesses as well as help individuals that need jobs. And I think that will help jumpstart the economy as well. If we're getting more people working, they'll be paying sales tax, they'll be, again, hopefully buying property here as well, paying property taxes, and I think the whole thing in the end will benefit our economy. Another part of the jobs framework is bringing new technologies in, new sources of energy. I believe Indiana can take a foreground pretty much, or we can be the leader, I think, in these new technologies if we really invest into them, if we give them the time, if we give them the resources they need. And what happened is a lot of the jobs have been lost over the last few years. Those won't come back. Businesses have adapted to the changes, and that they just won't need those jobs anymore. We need to look to the future, the 21st century jobs. And I think those include renewable sources of energy, or what we call the quote-unquote the green jobs. And I believe there's a lot more of those we can look at, and stuff that can help us get us off Middle East oil and invest in these new technologies, create brand new jobs, and start a brand new rebuild economy for the future. Mm-hmm. And I think that will be beneficial to the state of Indiana, to the people in Indiana, and again, to avoid the dreaded brain drain and keep our college students here.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that you mentioned in that press release was about front-loading the recovery. And why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I believe the big part about front-loading economy is we have to start creating jobs. A lot of times people wait for the economy to recover and think the jobs will follow. But what we need to do is actually start the job creation ourselves. The government needs to be involved with that through tax incentives, as I said before. This will help, again, kickstart businesses and give them incentives to start jobs. And then by that, we create the jobs. And with that, with the jobs already being created, that will help lead us out of this economic recession. So I believe the government can play an active role in actually helping turn this economy around, instead of waiting for it to get better, then worry about the jobs that are being created afterwards.
And were you targeting, remind me, were you targeting kind of small businesses?
Well, that is definitely, the 84 district is about 80% so small businesses, and that's definitely who I want to make sure we take care of, part of the district, and I believe in the small businesses. My uncle owns a small business, home builder himself, and I believe that we need to help these small businesses out because they are hiring the jobs. They're hiring the people around here that need the work. So that's a big thing we need to do, and again, tax incentives need to be a big part of that to help keep the small jobs here and help them expand, especially if it's 80% of our businesses in 84 district. We need these small businesses.
Sure. I'll ask you this about education, and you're going to be doing possibly a press conference or something a little bit more about that later in the week. But I guess the question that comes to mind, jobs are very important, but then where does education kind of fall in the mix as well?
Well, I believe since education is such a big part of our budget here, I think we need to find a way to operate public education more effectively at a cheaper cost. And I think there's a lot of things we can do to be able to do that. And I think one of the ways we need to look at is looking outside the box. I know it's unpopular at first when people hear these sort of things, but when you look at a lot of statistics, I've been doing a lot of research. There's systems out there that are running on a 4-day week. What they do is they go to school a little bit longer during the day, but for 4 days a week. And what they do is they keep the same instructional minutes. So you don't lose any instructional time, even though you're only going for a 4-day week. But what this does is it brought attendance scores up. Students were more willing to come for those 4 days knowing that they had a 3-day weekend. It brought test scores up more. So again, with attendance, there's a direct correlation. If you're in the classroom, you're learning more. So this test scores went up. They showed throughout all different states throughout the United States who've done some of these programs like this have had higher success rates with test scores, with attendance. And these are the things we've been working on really hard here in Fort Wayne community, even trying to do that. So I would suggest at least looking outside the box, looking into new ways of doing it. I'm not saying we have to follow the schedule, but it's at least look into the statistics out there and see that we don't have to operate the school systems the way we've been doing it. And I know that Dr. Bennett is against the idea of doing anything less than 180 days a year, but I think if we just focus on that aspect, we're going to miss not only opportunities to educate our kids, but it also saves money. It's cost saving with going to 4 days. You don't have as much days of transportation. You're not using as much heating or air conditioning during the summer for the air conditioning heating this winter. So these are things that you can save money on just by going 4 days a week and keeping the same instructional minutes. So these are just some of the ideas I have out there to make sure that our students are learning, but at the same time we're saving some money because we're going to need that, especially with the budget predictions that we're having the next few years.
If every student had the ability or knew that they had the ability once they graduated high school, maybe took one to college, there was a scholarship waiting for them, or they were guaranteed to be able to get funding. Do you think that would make a difference in the primary years in education in high school?
I think it could. I think that could be a motivator, especially for certain students. And that would be a great thing. And the question again is where we get the money from. And even my opponent's talking about a plan of possibly allowing students to graduate early and use the money that was, that they would have been using in high school to apply towards college, which I think is a great idea. I think anytime you can get the students to keep moving forward on their education instead of them feeling like that they're stuck in an area where they're not happy, they're not content, where they could be doing more, I think that's something great. And I think something like that or a variation of that program would be great to keep the students moving and to keep them with some funds and some motivation for moving forward on doing a little bit higher education.